you believe I'm eating? Well, there's a story.
Quite a story.
Quite a story.
But first of all, welcome to Lighting the Way.
Oh, now you're
Granny.
live. Now it says we're live.
Uh-huh.
Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks.
And I'm Sweet Baby James, otherwise known as James Maynard. Welcome to Lighting the Way, Granny Raps and Rocks. Take it away, Granny.
You may notice that I'm eating. Well, that's because everything was crazy. So you also may notice that I'm not at the piano. That's also because the whole broadcasting thing fell apart tonight again. And I've changed. Anyway, I don't even want to get into it. Let's just say it's a mess. But we hope that this is working. You may not have the piano, and I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow night when I play the piano. But at least I can talk to you on Facebook. Yay! So thank you. We're so happy to see you, whoever you are. And, there you go. If you could just move this over, I'll be able to see the chat.
Yeah.
I love it. This way I can see the chat. Well, guys, my topic tonight is...
It's about change.
It's about change. It's like, I can't remember what it says. Where is it? It should say.
Well, it should say...
Yeah, it should say the topic is about change. You know, if you look, why are so many people afraid of change? Well, probably because things like this happen. Everything goes wrong and you don't know what to do.
The unexpected.
All right. Tracy
Unforeseen.
says hello. Amy says
Hello,
hi.
hello.
And James,
Thank you.
hello,
Back at you.
everybody.
Back at you,
So
Tracy
happy
and
to
Amy.
see our friendly people. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not showing the title, but anyway.
But
So
you know that it's about change and about resistance to change.
Well, it's about change. Why do so many people not like change? No, and what I said was, in the topic, is that there is a whole bunch of people fighting for change, and then there's a whole bunch of people fighting against change. And why is that? And which side are you on? And
there you
so
go.
we have a hello from Elizabeth
Hello,
as well.
Elizabeth.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Back at you.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's what it's all about. It's all about change tonight. So, and...
Oh, by the way, Amy has a comment.
Oh, have you noticed we see a whole universe of people fighting to keep things the same and another fighting for change? Why does that happen, and where do you fit? My goodness.
She saw the title.
She saw it. Well, how come we don't see it? Thank you, Amy. You see, it takes
Well, it looks like the viewers can see it. That's
but
the
you're a
important thing.
viewer, and you can't see it. Well, I am so glad that you can see it. I appreciate that, Amy. So, oh, and Catalina says good evening. Good evening,
Hello,
friend.
Catalina.
Oh,
Thank you for the love heart.
Oh my God!
Back at
After
you.
what I've been struggling with tonight and not being able to get the sound out, I've got everything. So I had to rechange everything in the computer and the programs and redo everything from scratch. And I had it all set up, and the sound went in, but the sound would not go out. It wouldn't come out.
So you couldn't hear anything.
You couldn't hear. Yeah, I was broadcasting, but sound did not go into the broadcast. So anyway, that's why I'm here. Thank God, Facebook is working. I hate to say good things about Facebook, but thank God it's working. Okay. But anyway, so I want to talk about change. And of course, I haven't had any time to think about the topic because I was so busy trying to get on the air.
And by the way, Todd says, hi there, Beth and James.
Hi
Hello,
there, Todd. Oh,
Yeah.
surrounded by love with all this. So, the first thing that is so obvious about change is, what we all know. We've all said it a million times. We don't know what's gonna happen. It's like we have a known misery, but if we have a change, what could that misery be? So we're all afraid of that, and we really are. And Karen said, "Good to see you both." Thank you, Karen. It's
Thank you, Karen. Good to have you with
too.
us.
Yes, it is. So, anyway. So we all have heard that expression, and there's a lot of truth to it. There is so much scary about the unknown. It's like most of us who are not blind, physically blind, have no concept of how to function in some place that is absolutely dark.
Right.
I don't. You know, and it's amazing that blind people find ways to get around with canes, with dogs, just their senses, what they pick up, they're attuned. But boy, put somebody like me in the dark, and I mean, I'm gonna fall over things.
Yeah, or me, same thing.
Yeah, so I think that there is an analogy there that going into the unknown is like going into the dark because you just don't know what's going to trip you up. So there is a lot of that.
Or pick you up.
Or pick you up. Yeah. I mean, it could be good, right? But no, we don't tend to think that way. But now, I want to actually talk a little bit deeper about this topic. If you look at what's happening in our world, a lot of the people who are fighting for change feel that they have been cheated in this world and that they are being oppressed or deprived of their rights and so on. Well, guess what? That's true in a lot of cases, right? And so people are going to be fighting for something they haven't got or that they think that other people have, but they don't. Now, on the other hand, so they're going to want change, right? It's sort of like, okay, I'm a slave. Even though I am sure there were slaves who were terrified of being released from slavery because they didn't know that was going to let them into the unknown, right? They don't know what's going to happen. How are they going
to survive?
How are they going to survive?
Meet their needs?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what about the people on the other side? Supposing the people, let's take the slaveholders for example. Why would they not want things to change? Why would they not
Because they got free labor and they're making lots of money.
Exactly. And there is Boyke.
Hello, Maestro. Love you.
Well, thank you, Boyke. If that's the correct pronunciation of your name, I have no idea. But that's what we call you anyway. We are so happy to see you. So if somebody is opposed to the ending of slavery, it's because they are afraid they are going to lose something. Okay, so what we've got here is I know what I have as a slave, and most of us are ready to lose it because it's so bad.
Right.
And we see that there's other options and opportunities, and we want them. On the other hand, you have the people who say, I've got to lose the plantation house, I've got to lose the maid, I've got to lose all of these privileges and and all of that. So here's a very clear example of why most people who were slaveholders, even if their conscience was bothering them, was really afraid of the change, and didn't want black people to be empowered. Now, take a look at something like gay rights. Okay, so gay people have had a very tough time throughout the world in many, many cultures, right? And they're afraid of things staying the same because they could be hurt. And in fact, now things seem to be moving backwards. So they have to fight in order to maintain what they have, or they have to fight to get more. People being arrested just for being gay, being incarcerated and so on. Well, so they didn't have the normal rights and they wanted them. And why did the people who opposed them not want gay people to have their rights? Oh, we have another...
Yes, Wilson is here. Hello, Wilson. He says, I love seeing you both.
Oh, we love that too. And Wilson, the last time you said you hadn't seen us in a long time, so I hope that whatever was blocking you from coming before has changed.
Yes, we welcome that change.
That's a change we like. So we love that. We're so happy to have you. So why would heterosexual people, or people who are at least pretending to be heterosexual, feel threatened by gay people having the right to marry or to have a family or just to live in safety? What is it that they're going to lose?
It's a puzzle, although a lot of people who are devout Christians feel like it's a sin.
Well,
Sodom and Gomorrah, sodomy.
Yeah, but if you look deeply into the Bible, you're going to see all kinds of sexual behavior, that is not supposed to be there, right? So, I mean, that's a good excuse, but there must be some real fear about what people are afraid they're going to lose. Now,
Well, one of the things is a lot of heterosexual people with families are afraid that their children might turn out gay if they're exposed to people who have every right to exhibit their gayhood, their gayness.
that's true, but why would they be afraid of that? So why should you be afraid if your child is gay? Well, some people are afraid that their child will suffer because they're gay, because they know how much prejudice there is in the society. So that is one reason. But you see, it also makes people uncomfortable because it's not familiar. Now, I remember myself, honestly, I'm old, when I first saw two men kissing, I felt a little weird. Like, that's weird. Now, it didn't bother me when I saw women kissing, because women kiss, but men. So I admit that there was a discomfort in me because it was unfamiliar. So there's a little bit of that unfamiliar, we're in a dark room, we don't know what this means. But also, I think we all know that there is a possibility that the people who are walking around thinking that they're heterosexual or who have developed a heterosexual life may not be 100% heterosexual. And let me tell you, if you don't know this already, see, I'm going to tell you as a counselor what some of you may not know because you're not counselors. How many children had same-sex relations as children? Boys masturbating each other, going into the alley, doing stuff, jerking off together, as they call it, or touching each other. And hey, nobody talks about this because children don't have sex, but we know that children do have sex. I mean, I know children have sex because I am a counselor and I talk to people who had sex as children, and it's a lot. It's not like, oh, that's just a strange little group over there. It's not. It's a lot of people. And so little girls would play with each other, and little boys and girls played, and this one played nurse, and that one played doctor. And so they're walking around, and this is true, again, because I know this from experience. I'm not just talking out of my head. That they're wondering, are they gay? And if all of a sudden they're allowed to be gay, then they have to start wondering, well, gee, I wonder if I am gay. Now, I'm not even saying that they are. I'm saying that they may have had homosexual feelings as children or homosexual behavior as children or as teenagers, as youngsters. I mean, what do you think? Every man in the army or woman in the army is not having sex? Or that every priest or nun is not having sex? They are. I know that too. Guess how? Because I'm a counselor and I've talked, and I know, that this happens a lot. So they are, and I'm not talking about priests who molest children. I'm just talking about priests who are priests, who are having sex with each other and feeling guilty about it. So the world pretends that it's one thing, but it isn't. The world pretends that there is this straight demarcation between
men are men and women are women.
Yeah.
Men are manly.
Yeah.
And women are feminine.
Yeah. Whatever that means. So, anyway, so when this begins to come out, you begin to wonder. And then you start to feel, I remember, because I've been pretty much heterosexual. I mean, like 100% in my behavior. But I remember once, I looked at this woman who was a lesbian, and I felt an attraction to her, and I thought, oh goody, I wish I could be attracted to women because I have so much trouble with men. But anyway, I could feel that. So you see, when people are out of line, then they're making other people think about themselves and their lives. How much do we dismiss behavior that we really wish we were able to do too?
Oh, sure, like hippie behavior, for example. A lot of people wish they could be more hippie-like, wild and free,
And they did.
And they did. Some did, some didn't.
A lot did. those were the days, and they use drugs in order to do it. It's like, oh, it's not me, it's the
And
drug.
there's still a lot of people who are hippie-esque, long hair and drugs.
That's true. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. So I think the whole point is that we keep a lot of demarcations in order to keep everything straight. Supposing the man, the plantation owner is attracted to one of the black slaves, or the
Oh.
woman is a plug, and how many times did it in fact happen that plantation
Well,
owners?
that happened with Thomas Jefferson.
It
of all
certainly
people.
did.
Yeah.
It certainly did. It happened with a lot of people. So, we keep these rigid things, and we don't want any change because it upsets our concept of who we are.
Mm.
So, also, as I mentioned before, it threatens things that we have, that we think it threatens us. So, people are saying, oh, illegal immigrants. Okay. All right. That's a complex issue, but it is very true. I mean, I lived in California where there were so many undocumented laborers, and who's going to clean your house? Who's going to do the gardening? Who's going to do all of this thing? It was typically people from Latin America, Mexicans, Guatemalans when I was there, and they were undocumented. Oh, they were cheap. So now, if they suddenly get some benefits, or they're not undocumented anymore, they may not work for low wages. They may start charging what other white people. I don't mean other white people. White people who are legal. Yes. Legal immigrants or non-immigrants, they're going to start charging that. Well, we don't want to upset that, but see, we're not even admitting that that's in our minds. And then, of course, there's this fear that our children are going to be attracted to people of a different race, different skin color, different culture. Like, wow, like that doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen? Come on. There is something very attractive about the other. Being attracted to, you may have noticed that I'm very white. It's, this is not makeup. This is just my makeup. I just happen to be very white. So, when James is white too, he's not as white as I am. Very few people are, but he's white too.
Well, I have a small percentage of Native Americans.
That must be it, James. A very small percentage. He reminds me of this on a regular basis, but we haven't noticed any tracking skills whatsoever. So we could see, okay, I was attracted to dark-skinned people. I found them beautiful. I found them alluring. I found them different. Some of us are attracted to something that is different. It's like, oh my God, then what? Then what's going to happen to the purity of white society, which isn't pure anyway? As we have noticed, those people who have taken the test, those tests for your background, have discovered that there's little bits and pieces of all kinds of races in you. And isn't that a shockaroo, right, when we thought it was so? And then all of a sudden some white family has a dark child. It's like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Or some supposedly white person turns out not to be white. I mean, because our idea of what is white is anybody who has no dark pigmentation from their inheritance. Well, that's kind of ridiculous, because there was a lot of people having sex with a lot of people, Native Americans and Caucasians and
African Americans. Hispanics.
So, but okay, this is going to upset, and there is that attraction. So all of this is showing us something, that the world is not, quote, black and white, is it?
No.
But when those people that have been put down start demanding their rights, then all of a sudden the world gets very scary. Now, I'll tell you another reason it gets scary. Well, I think you know this already, that they are afraid, we white people are afraid that darker people are going to want what we have.
And we might lose some privilege.
We might lose some privilege. And so then we're screaming, we have no privilege. Well, come on. I mean, it's all relative, right? I grew up in a very poor family, and I don't think we had privilege, but compared to the black people who couldn't live in the neighborhood because nobody would allow them, we did. We had the right to move into that neighborhood. They didn't. What's going to happen if they do? The culture might change, and people might start dancing with their hips. You know, that would be terrible, wouldn't it?
Mm.
So do you see what I'm saying? So these are all kinds of changes that we are culturally and internationally afraid of. Like, what's going to happen if all these Muslims start moving into a neighborhood and start saying, we want Israel out of Gaza? Then we're going to have to rethink everything. Well, we can't rethink things. We can't evaluate things honestly. We have to get into rigid positions and we have to stay in this mode because we know what the truth is and we never have to think. And we don't have to expand and we don't have to change, because what would happen, and this goes back to being in a dark room, we may not be able to cope with the change.
Oh, the world could change so much, it's just, it doesn't fit what our coping skills are for.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, supposing all the employers were looking for different qualities,
And you didn't fit.
and I didn't fit. And that happened. Let's say, if you look back in history, you had a lot of people who were factory workers or farmers, or maybe had some crafts, but they weren't white-collar workers. I mean, how many peasants in the Middle Ages were sitting there
As
looking,
business people.
right, you're looking at their computers and trying to figure out how to pay their bills online. You know, I mean, there are so many things that
With those kind of changes, how are you going to keep up?
Exactly. So the world may turn over and they don't need me anymore. Maybe they don't need big, strong, buff men. Maybe they need little old ladies who can sit in a chair for 6 hours without getting crazy. You see what I'm saying? So it's all about survival, isn't it? It's our fear that we won't survive. Now, sometimes we look at things and we say, well, why am I so afraid of this change? Oh, my kids are going to grow up and move out, and they're going to suddenly have other relationships. Well, guess what? If a change like that happens, let's say you're a married couple, and you have kids and they move out, you suddenly have time on your hands, and you have something to focus on other than your children. And what are you going to do? Maybe you're going to discover that you hate your husband or you hate your wife. Right? Because you don't have that constant distraction. Oh, well, let's get 6 dogs and start a kennel, or we'll do something else that will absorb all of our energy, give us a sense of value, that will, that will sort of absorb our emotional energy that we didn't have before. So you see, even when it's not obvious what the threat is, there's a threat of change, because the way we have survived emotionally, mentally, physically may have to change, and we don't know if we're going to make it. So I don't want my husband all of a sudden to decide that he wants to become a golf pro and start touring the country, because that means I'm going to be home all by myself because I'm not well and I couldn't. He's not going to do that. But I'm going to make sure he never does that.
Lucky for you, I don't have that level of game.
I know. That's what, and I'm going to make sure that he doesn't, because I don't want him to have that level of game, because that's going to threaten how I spend my time and how I deal with my feelings of loneliness. And one of the things that I'm just touching on, but not really talking about directly, is our identity. How we see ourselves in the world. So I touched upon that as somewhat talking about gender identification and sexuality and all that. But it's more than that. It's like, oh, I'm a mother, or I'm working and I'm a bookkeeper, or I'm a, whatever it is. And I have an identity, I have a value, I have a use, and I can get up in the morning and think, okay, I know what I'm going to do with my day, and I know what value I have. And when things change, often that gets all shaken up. I may not know who I am. I may not know what value. I may not have any value in the world anymore. It's like, oh, retire, won't you? Go retire. And then you have to do something to make yourself feel important or valuable. So we all need security, which means we need a definition of ourselves. We need a feeling of safety, which means we need to understand what's in the room. Not a dark room, but we have to understand the landscape. And we need a feeling of worth and value. Even if the feeling of worth and value comes from, I'm the prettiest girl at the prom. Well,
what happens when you get older and you don't have those looks anymore?
You're not even a girl anymore, much less the prettiest. Yeah. So, whoa, bad news. You may have to change your identity. So this is the good news. Oh my God, we're almost out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, would you please like this show or love this show and share this show? You think that you're the only one who needs to hear this. So please do that, and please become a subscriber. And I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow night, and we normally do music, but if I can't get the sound to work.
One way or the other, we expect to be doing music. We have a piano, we have different keyboards.
Yeah, but James, I don't expect anything, because right now I don't know if I can get anything
I can
working.
sing a cappella.
Honey, there's no sound.
Oh.
Oh, you're going to sing a cappella on here? Okay, we can do a Facebook thing where you sing a cappella. We did that once. I couldn't
We'll
get
have
an
music
instrument.
somehow.
We'll be here at
We'll be
7
here.
o'clock tomorrow night, and that's called Magical Improvs, and we'll do something. But back to the point. So the point is that we feel safe when we think we know how to manage everything, and we know what's going to happen, and we think we have the world in our control. But not one of us has the world in our control, really. And every one of us is in danger of losing everything that gives us a sense of who we are, our identity. Let's say you're a lawyer and suddenly you get a stroke, and you're not out there in the courtroom or doing paperwork because you can't do that anymore. And so...
Or you just lose your job.
Or you lose your job, or something happens, right? Or you have global warming and the place where you live that used to be so beautiful, you have storms that you've never seen before, and you don't know how to cope with that either. But what I'm saying is, our identities and our sense of safety are pretty slim. They are very insecure. And so when we see big social change, we already know we're insecure. We already know we can get hit by a car. We already know that our child can get killed. We already know that our dog is going to die. We already know that our husbands might, want somebody else. Not that somebody else might want them. I mean, we already know the truth, which is we could be fired, that the world could turn upside down, that the house that we've invested so much money in, the housing crisis happens and our house has no value anymore and we lose $200,000. That's the truth. So you add to that all of that uncertainty that we have, that sense of, oh my God, and I could lose my identity, and I can lose all the things that I've used to give me certainty. So when you look at people who are opposing change, and some of them are pretty nuts in what they say, honestly, maybe I'll talk about that sometime. Realize that they feel threatened every day in their lives just like we do, and that on top of that, they see social change that might disrupt things even more. And they won't know who they are or what to do to survive emotionally, spiritually, physically. So don't change. Whatever you do, don't change. Believe
Either that
in,
or go with the flow and adapt.
maybe you believed in a certain kind of God when you were a kid. Well, keep it up. Don't change. Don't grow up. Because growing up means letting go of that lizard skin over and over and over, and emerging and emerging and emerging. And if we begin to recognize that change is all there is, and we stop trying to hang on to our identities, we might be much better off. And I have got to be quiet now because our time is up. I love you. Thank you.
Good to be with you. Thanks for being with us.
If you leave comments later, I will respond.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. And we will be back tomorrow doing something at 7 p.m.
Musically.
Musically. Okay.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.